Greetings, everyone. Welcome to day 4 of our Shark Week of sketching sharks and learning all about them. So, hi, I'm Christine Elder, and I'm a naturalist, environmental educator, and biological illustrator in Southern Oregon. So, I love observing sharks in the wild, scuba diving and snorkeling, and I've been lucky to see hammerheads in the Galapagos and blacktip reef sharks and nurse sharks in the Caribbean and all kinds of other species. So I'm so excited to share my enthusiasm about sharks with you and how to draw them. So even if you don't have drawing tools with you, go ahead and stick around. It really helps to watch, and you can always watch the replay. On my YouTube channel, you can see all of these previous workshops we've done this week for Shark Week over on the playlist called Sketching Sharks, appropriately enough. So we've done the blue shark and the mako shark and the lemon shark. And today we are doing the largest fish in the world, the whale shark. And so every day we are going to do a shark that's in a little bit different pose and a little bit more challenging. So I'm sure you can do it, though. You can follow along. I'm really good at teaching people how to draw, and you'll learn about sharks as we go. So I am a professional scientific illustrator, and I've also worked at the Monterey Bay Aquarium. So I've got some interest and experience in both marine biology and professional drawing. And I really love teaching people how to draw. And while you're drawing, you're going to learn about the parts. So yeah, this is the whale shark today. And I've got a couple other photos here too. And if you happen to join my online course, which I've got a link to somewhere in the chat box or down below, you can get the high resolution images from this whole week, as well as other tutorials on shark biology and shark anatomy. So as a biological illustrator, it really helps to look at an animal you're drawing from a few different views. So we have this view here that we're going to be drawing, but it's also nice to look at them here and here. So let's chat first a few moments about whale sharks so we really understand their biology and their anatomy. So as I said, you might probably already know they're the biggest fish in the sea. They get up to 60 feet long and several tons, up to 30 tons, in fact. And they roam the world's oceans, and they actually have really long migrations to look for mates and to look for food. And they are one of the only sharks in the world that are filter feeders. So of the 500 or so sharks in the world, only 3 are filter feeders, these whale sharks and basking sharks and megamouth sharks. And so we're going to actually draw this shark in a little bit more challenging pose that we're going to have the mouth open, filtering food. So don't get ahead of me and start drawing, okay? And so, yeah, they live in all the world's warmer oceans, and they're very gentle giants. They pose no threat to humans, and people often do swim with them as a tourist attraction. And a few of them are in aquariums, but of course they don't do very well there because they are so large. Now, we don't have anything to fear from them, but they have a lot to fear from us. They are technically listed as endangered, as are many of the shark species in the world, and some of the ones we've drawn so far in this series. And so they get hit by propellers. They get hit by big ships. They also get caught in as bycatch and fishing nets, and they are hunted. So lots of ways that they're endangered. But today, let's be happy and just chat about their biology and anatomy. And the more we know about how something looks before we start drawing it, the more we will be able to draw it with ease and confidence and speed and accuracy. So like we said, they are the largest fish in the world. So just a bit smaller than the largest whales, like the blue whale. And so they get up to be 60 feet long, and their mouth gets to be 5 feet wide. So they are filter feeders, and we'll chat more about how they eat when we draw their mouth. But they have their nostrils here. They have the very tiny eyes right here. And behind the eyes, you can't really see it very well in this murky water, but they do have spiracles, which are a modified gill. Then they have 5 gills, which also you can't see very well. But that's the wonderful thing about drawing something, and the wonderful thing about being a scientific illustrator. Your job is to show things that you might not be able to see in a photograph. So scientific illustrators like me will look a lot of different photographs. We'll look at videos, and if we're lucky, we'll swim with them and observe them and photograph them on our own. So anyway, we're going to try to show some of the things that don't really show very well in the photograph. Okay. Now, they have the same types of fins like other sharks do, the 2 dorsal fins with a free end at the back here. And then the large tail with the upper part longer than the lower part. And then they have their pair of pectoral fins in the front, and then the pair of pelvic fins, and then 1 anal fin. And so those are the main structures. Now, they also have some interesting spots and stripes that are unique or almost unique. There are a few sharks, in fact, one that we'll draw that has some interesting patterns on it. But these guys have a lot of spots on them, and they also have some of these vertical stripes on them. And again, you can see those better in some photos than in this one. So again, I like to use a few different references for drawing, and we'll get started drawing in just a moment. So we see that they have some spots. They've got more and smaller spots on their big, wide, flat head. And then they've got fewer, larger spots on the rest of their body. Another thing that's really obvious in them is that they have these ridges. Now, the sharks we've drawn so far this week, they have pretty prominent ridges that you can see, like on the mako shark we drew. They've got this ridge right here on their tail that helps to stabilize them. And so these guys actually have more than one ridge. They've got a really long one right here that you can see the highlight of that goes all the way up their back to their shoulder. But then they have 2 other prominent ridges along their upper back. And then at the very top, there's a ridge along the top as well. I want to say hi to our live viewers. Please do say hello in the chat box if you're joining live, and ask any questions you want to. That's the best, most wonderful thing about joining me live. So I want to say hello to Jackie from Aloha. So aloha, Jackie. And so, yeah. So that's all of the parts. Now we're going to start sketching. Today, I'm actually using a toned paper as opposed to the white paper here. So that's just a different technique. I love using a toned paper, especially when there's some white parts on an animal, like these white spots. And also, like the other sharks, they have white around their mouth and their throat and along their belly and on the underside of their fins. So that's called counter shading. So they're shaded from the top with the melanin pigment on the top of their body, and they're highlighted on the bottom with their unpigmented skin. And that helps them to blend into their surroundings better. So yeah, we're going to start with the shark. We're going to start with the outline of its body. Now, this shark is swimming towards us, so it's a little challenging. It's a lot like the shark we did yesterday, which was the lemon shark who's swimming towards us. But this one is swimming towards us with its tail kind of coming towards us. So of course, they're able to go swish their tail back and forth. And so this tail is coming towards us. So it's a little bit bigger than it looks in the lemon shark we drew yesterday, whose tail is swishing away from us. So we're going to do something about this detail. So I hope you're looking forward to that. Now, the materials I'm going to use today, I'm just going to start with a regular mechanical pencil, and then I'm going to do some shading, and I'm probably going to use this charcoal pencil, and then I'll do some blending with my blending stomp, and then it's really fun to get the very end. We add some highlights with some of my pens, so these opaque Uniposca pens. And then we also can add some more subtle highlights by erasing with this eraser pencil. And just yesterday, I got this brand new one. I really love this. I don't know if you can see it. I don't know. There we go. So this is an eraser that has an interesting edge to it. And that's really great to add some highlights. And then I usually add a little bit of pen. Oops, where's my pen? I usually add just a little bit of pen highlights. So the highlights are going to show up really well on the toned paper. So let's get started. Again, say hi in the chat box. Ask any questions you want about drawing or scientific illustration or the whale shark. And I'm going to make the whale shark bigger here. Oops, no, we won't want to do that. One moment, please. There we go. Okay, so that should show pretty well on both mobile and desktop. And I do suggest you watch on desktop if possible. And on my YouTube channel, there's actually both versions. So you can watch it vertically or horizontally. Okie dokie. So let's get started. So I'm going to kind of make a line that describes where my basic shark is going to be. And you probably can't see this really perfectly yet, but don't worry. So there's a line and then there's the tail. So we just want to make sure we have enough room on our paper for the whole shark and the fin coming out a little bit further there. Okay, so now I'm going to describe this shape. So they've got this really wide mouth and this kind of hunched back from this angle. And then it comes right down. So nice hunched back. And we don't do any erasing at this point. We just get our marks down and keep kind of working on it as we go. Oh, wait, one of my lights is not on. What happened here? Oh, I unplugged it. One moment. I was like, it was a little bit dark. There we go. That's a little bit brighter. Okay, so, and then the bottom, the throat. And what's nice when you are able to download the photo, if you're in my course, is you can actually use your pencil here to help you with the measurements. Like I've got to make this guy fatter. Girl or guy. It actually looks like a girl because male sharks would have these reproductive claspers at the back of the pelvic fins. So we're going to call this a big girl. And with most sharks, as well as a lot of animals, the females are larger. And again, this guy or this girl gets to be 60 feet long with a 5-foot wide mouth and 30 tons. Isn't that amazing? Okay, so we're going to get the outside first and then, so I always start with that. And again, if you have the photo, there we go. So really hunched back. So I'm not erasing. I am just making the line just a little bit, because we're going to shade all the inside anyway. So it doesn't matter if there's a line. Then it gets really skinny here at the base of the tail. You guys see that pretty well? Jackie, tell me if you can see these lines. Now let's do the tail. The tail is higher than the whole body. And with most sharks, that upper lobe is longer, and that's called having a heterocercal tail. So, like regular bony fish have a tail that's generally the same length on the upper lobe and the lower lobe. But sharks have this other shape. Thank you, Jackie. Yes, I'm glad you can see it well. Okay. So, yeah, and different sharks have different lobes, lengths. So, like the thresher shark has a lobe that's about twice as long as this, whereas the lemon shark we drew, no, who was it? Oh, the mako shark had a very homocercal tail, where both the top and bottom are about the same. Alrighty, so there's our tail, and I could always double check that with my finger. Oh, yep, pretty close. Alrighty, so we have that outline. Um, Now I'm gonna just darken it so I can add the fins in the right place. So the head's kind of flat here, and then you see there's sort of more of a hump. And something like that. Okay. And then we're actually going to draw the mouth open. So let me wait for that for a minute. Let's add the dorsal fins. So again, each pair of fins does a different job in terms of how it helps the shark swim and be stable in the water. And notice that the back end is not attached. And that's true in most sharks, is that it's kind of freely flapping around there in the water. And the second one, the same thing, the second dorsal fin. It's got this arch and it's always smaller. And in some sharks, like the mako, it's much, much smaller, but that back end is free. Okie dokie. Um, now we're gonna draw the mouth, the top of the mouth, and then we're gonna open it. Okay, so that's how we're gonna make it a little bit more challenging than we have before. As I promised, each day of this series, we're doing something a little bit different, and we're making it a little bit more challenging for you. So let's get that mouth open. So I'm gonna just see that pink mouth. We're gonna do this arch here. And it's about this long. Okay. So I'm keeping the top of the mouth sort of in the same place, but in reality, it would probably be higher. And then there's these little flappy things. I don't know what they're called, but I don't think that's the nostrils, actually. Well, maybe it is. Sorry, maybe that is the nostrils. Okay, and then we're gonna open the mouth, okay? So let's open that mouth. And because they are interesting, again, they're one of only three species in the world that are filter feeding sharks. So they're kind of in a way like baleen whales. Okay, so we're just gonna open that mouth a bit. And maybe I'll clean up that edge there. Now, with the open mouth, you'll be able to see the inside of the gills. So here you see the outside, there's 5 gills. And so when the mouth is open, you're going to be able to see those gills. And so I'm going to draw those. So they're open. And there's 5 of them. I might not have those in exactly the right spot. But so what happens is these guys are filtering their food. And what do they eat? So they're filter feeders, kind of like baleen whales, like humpback whales. They're going to swim through the water and open their mouth wide when they find food. And again, these guys will migrate thousands of miles to find food. They're going to be looking for small schooling fishes, like what we call bait fish. They're going to be looking for krill, shrimp, eggs, actually, the eggs of coral reefs. Corals often spawn, they are an animal. Corals spawn their eggs by the millions at certain times of the year. So they're going to open their mouth wide. They're going to bring that water in through suction by opening and closing their mouth. And then they're going to close their mouth and it forces the water outside the gills. And we can add that other set of gills right here. We see those. So those are kind of in front of this. So yeah, they'll be kind of 1, 2. Now this guy's turning towards us, so they're going to be closer and not really as obvious as some of our other sharks. So the water's going to be pushed out, and the krill and other small animals are going to be caught on these kind of pads that are like Brillo pads. And then when they close their mouth, they kind of swish it around and they make the food get off of those pads or those gill rakers, and it goes down their gullet, down their esophagus. And I was watching a video today from the Georgia Aquarium, who had some whale sharks, and they said their opening to their esophagus is only about this big, about the size of a quarter. So their food has to be pretty small. Okay, so its mouth is open. So I'm going to make its the bottom jaw kind of bigger like this. And there'll be a little bit of shadow here, actually, more than here. And then we can add the rest of the belly going down here. But their mouth is really wide and flat if you were looking at them swimming towards you. Okay, now we can firm that line up. And it's a little messy, so I'll erase some of this. And then we can add these other fins now that the mouth is open. So this is the pair of pectoral fins, and that helps stabilize them and helps them turn. And one of these fins is coming out from below the open mouth. And it's kind of turned, actually. It looks like it's a little bit turned. So you see part of the upper part with the spots on it. Oh, hello, Diane. Thank you for joining us too live. It's just wonderful. Okay, and then the other fin always comes out from kind of where the base of the last of the 5 gills are. And in this photo, that one is actually also sort of turned. So you see the under white side there. Let me see if I got that long enough. Oh, pretty good. And so, oh, what am I doing here? What am I doing? Oh, yeah. So the top of the gill, the top of the pectoral fin is sort of like this. There we go. Oh, I made it too fat. And then kind of like that. Okay. Oops, wait. I got to make it connect. There we go. Now it's in front. Okay, now we get rid of that. Okie dokie. So how's that? So now we have the 2 pectoral fins, and they're kind of turned. So you see the black part, and we'll add the spots. And then you see a little bit of the bottom of both fins as well. All righty. Now, since this fish is turning towards us, these pelvic fins are kind of being hidden by this a bit. But I find that a little bit confusing. And also, this is, I think, a digital illustration. It's not real. So I can move those a little bit to avoid confusion. Here's some photos there. So sometimes I take a bit of artistic license. So I'm actually going to move these a bit. I'm going to have one of them kind of here, and then the other one a little bit here. Okay, so that's not so confusing. And then we have our last fin, the anal fin, which is always just a little bit below and behind, and generally smaller than that other fin. Okay, so now it's time to clean things up. Tell me in the chat box if you're keeping track here. Oops. There we go. So now I'm going to clean things up, mainly just the outside. Yeah, so the fabulous whale shark. Okay, and I don't want to make the outline too dark because just like we've talked about before, we don't want to have an outline. Okay, we want to end up with a shark that doesn't look like somebody drew around it. Hi, Lisa. Good morning. Keeping up. Glad. Thanks for joining us. Okie dokie. So again, we are showing this shark in a little bit different position to challenge you. And we've got the mouth open. And so, oh, we didn't get the eye yet. The eye are so small. They're not really big and obvious like we had on the, who had a big obvious eye? Oh yeah, the blue shark had a really big obvious eye. But these guys don't. So they're not going to be that obvious, but the eye is just going to be kind of right there. And we'll make that a bit more obvious later. Okay, so next we're going to start shadowing it. And I got something popping up there in the way. Okay, so now we start shadowing, and I'm going to use, what am I going to use? I'm going to use this shading pencil and then blending it with this. So the first thing we do is try to just get the three-dimensional form, and then adding kind of more the pattern and those ridges. And the very last thing we do is add all the spots and the stripes. Okay, so right now we're just kind of thinking of where the main pigment is. And so, oops, I haven't been wearing my glasses. And we're just going to do the top because I can use my blending stomp to add a little bit of shadow to the bottom. And this girl has a lot of pigment coming all the way down, and I notice in the photos too. So that's something to notice when you're drawing a shark is where that line between the pigmented part and the white belly is. In some sharks, it's really high and really distinct. In other sharks, it's lower. So, and the fins, the top of the fins are always pigmented. And then let's just keep going a bit. Usually people just are a little bit too wimpy about this stage. And as we start to add these shadows, we want to bring in our trusty sun. And I usually have the sun at the upper left. And so, yeah, we're just trying to generally get the three-dimensional form. So, for example, if the sun was shining on top of here, this would be the lightest over here, and it would get darker over here, and especially darker as the belly, the big fat belly of that 60-foot long, 30-ton whale shark goes into the shadows. Okay. And then there'll also be a shadow a little bit under the belly here and the open mouth, under the open mouth. So there we go. Now, at this point, I like to start blending a bit. And if you don't have that, that's okay. But you can use your fingers or a Q-tip, or you can just try to, blend some more with your pencil. But I like to have really soft blends. Now, also our sorry, when I get in my right brain, I lose my ability to talk. The fins are going to be a bit darker because the sun is not shining on them as directly as the top of the shark. Kind of think of them as a sail sticking up on a boat, and the top of the boat would be getting more sun. And also the bottom fins would be getting less sun than the top fins. And this fin would be getting less sun than this fin. So, and also the bottom part of the tail fin would be getting less sun. All righty. So again, please say hello in the chat box. I know we have more people watching than are commenting, and you might be busy. So now I'm going to blend this, and the edges might get a little messy, but I can clean those up later. We do a lot of cleaning up at the end, but I want to blend my, and again, we are just trying to get the general pigment and the general highlights and shadows before we add any spots or those ridges, which we're mainly going to lift out. So some of you guys have been joining me all week so far. So you've had a chance maybe to think about getting some of these other supplies I use, like charcoals and blending stomps and the special erasers and my opaque white pens. Oh yeah, and then we also need to shade inside the mouth. And so the upper part, the mouth, so the mouth is pigmented white, so it is going to be a little lighter, but it's going to be darker on the upper part of the mouth because, again, the sun is shining, and it's the upper part of the mouth is going to be in shade more than the lower part of the mouth. So I'm just adding a little bit. And okay. Thanks so much for joining us, everybody. If you're new, if you've just joined us, we are celebrating Shark Week with drawing a different species of shark and chatting about it every day. So you learn a bit about its anatomy and biology as you draw it. Let's get that edge a lot more obvious. And let's get our gills more obvious. So again, in order to filter feed, They open and close their mouth, kind of like a suction that sucks the food in. And then the little schooling fishes and the krill and eggs that they eat, they're getting caught in the gill rakers. And I'm going to shadow the top of the gills a little bit more than the bottom. They're going to get caught in there. And then when the whale closes its mouth, it kind of swishes it around and uses the muscles of its body to get that food loose and to go down the esophagus, the quarter-sized esophagus. Okay. Lisa said, I wish I had all of that with me. I'm in Florida helping my son move. Would that, yeah. Oh, yeah. Wonderful. Diane, I'm so happy you purchased my shark course. I would love to know what your nephew thinks about it. Okie dokie. And let's see, we got the eye. And we'll add a little highlight to the eye later. All righty. So, I got sidetracked. Sorry. We got started with the mouth, and I didn't finish sort of blending the rest of the body. So again, we are just right now trying to get the three-dimensional form of the body before we add those ridges, which we'll add partly by subtraction. And then I'm also going to use a white charcoal pencil to add some highlights to the belly. Where is that charcoal pencil? I was out yesterday filming, so I'm gonna let you catch up for a second. I'm gonna try to find my white charcoal pencil. Okay, do I have this locked? Oh, there we go. Not sure if I had the video locked there. Okay, let's see, white charcoal pencil. I have a whole bag of them. Never have them in front of me when I need them. Okay. So where are we now? So we want to kind of finish making this rounded. So let's add some more shadows down here. And the deepest shadows are going to be behind this, because this is where the fattest part of the shark is. And more shadow here. A little bit more shadow here. Okay, and then blending them. All right, how's it looking? Yeah, it is fun to have these materials. All right, what am I doing? Oh, yeah. Yeah, so those gills are not very obvious because, again, she is turning towards us, and so they're kind of squished or foreshortened. Okie dokie. Now what? Okay, so now we're going to start to lift out a few things. I think I'm going to use which eraser? There's different erasers for different purposes. Like I said, I got several erasers. I have this sharpenable eraser. And then I have, my brand new fun eraser that has this rectangular shape to it. Let's try to use that. So let me clean this edge up with that eraser. Oh, that just is so pleasing to have a nice sharp edge there. So I'm going to lift. The lightest part of the shark would be here. And again, we're not adding those spots or stripes until we get the three-dimensional form closer. So that's a little lighter. And then I want to get rid of some of this edge here. I don't like outlines. We're going to describe the outlines with our values. So I'm lightening those up for now. And lightening that a bit. Okay. So now I want to use my white charcoal pencil to show the white of the body and the pigment. So this part of the mouth is closest to us. So think of this shark being 60 feet long. So this mouth is, maybe like at least 30 feet closer to us as we are snorkeling with it, right? So we want to emphasize that. And so I'm going to add this. And again, if you don't have white charcoals, you can just do some erasing, but whatever you need to do. And this is going to be a pretty sharp edge here. And then we've got some highlights on the bottom of the lip. And the nice thing about using toned paper is we can use the color of the paper for our middle value. So like we don't have to add any more shadowing to the inside of the mouth there. And I'm going to add some highlights on the gills just a little bit. And a little bit on this part of the belly. And a bit on the underside of the So that's why I love working with toned papers. You can get them, you can buy them. They actually make sketchbooks with toned papers. And actually the front, that's not showing up very well. But we'll get out the big guns at the end when we use this Uniposca pen. So we want to get a little bit of white belly. And maybe a little bit here. But let's see, this fin is going to be very close to us. So we want to make that pretty obvious. But let's see, I think the whitest part of our shark would be the front of the mouth here. And also a little bit on top of the eye. Let's just try to emphasize the eye and the top of the nostrils a bit. That's fun. So that's really coming towards us now, isn't it? Very cool. Okay. So I am almost ready to start adding some spots. Oh no, one more thing. Before the spots, we need to add the ridges. Now, when you look at a real shark here, you may or may not be able to see it in the photo, but they have 3 ridges along the side of their body. And the biggest ridge is the one that is part of that keel on the tail that most sharks have, but theirs goes all the way up under their shoulder. Then they have 2 shorter ones too. And so I'm going to add those. And so this charcoal pencil actually is not playing very well with sometimes when you mix graphite and charcoal pencils, they're going to not be happy. Okay, so there's that ridge. And then there's another one. And then another one. And then to make those more obvious, we're going to shadow under those because those are uh, sticking out of the shark towards us. So if you look here, you can see, we can tell those are ridges because there's a highlight on the top, and in the little valley between them, there's a shadow. So let's add that. And let's see, I might be able to blend those a little bit softer. And there's actually also one along the top. And so there is a little bit of a ridge. Now there's a darker top to this too. But there's a little bit of a ridge on the top of the body. And then, sorry, I need to get a little bit darker fin there. Okay, and then that ridge would be highlighted. So we'll add a little bit of charcoal pencil to the very top, I think. Yeah, that helps. There we go. Can you see that? And let's see. I would gonna add a little bit of highlight on the top of this too, and maybe this one, and maybe this one. So remember our sun, and so that looks really cool. Okay. All righty, how we doing here? Do one more bit of blending before I add all the fun stripes, because it's super important to get that three-dimensional form before you add any of those very last details. So I want to finish kind of blending and getting rid of anything that looks like an outline, okay? So I'm just softening all of the edges, going over the outline a little bit so it softens it. And yeah, good. I hope we are planning to wrap it up by the 1 hour mark. I just want to finish softening the edges so there's no obvious outline. And especially since this tail is 60 feet away from us, we want to make it a little bit softer than it shows in the photo. And again, if you look at a few references, like for here, you see how sharp this is here. This the throat is really close to us, and the tail is disappearing a little bit into the murky background, right? So a way to do that is to soften that edge more. And like I mentioned yesterday, that I am a trained illustrator, and if I was making this for a scientist, in biological illustration, you do not emphasize that atmospheric perspective, but you certainly do when you're trying to make a drawing or a painting that's more artistic and looks real. So that's just something you don't do as much. Okay. So now, yeah, looks good. Please say hello in the chat box if you haven't already. I just want to add a little bit more darkness, a few places again before we add. And you always want to try to separate structures that are next to each other by different values. So, like, I've got this fin too much like the underside here. And I can also lighten that up a bit. So when I'm drawing, I'm going to kind of go back and forth a lot actually with my pencils and my erasers. But I really want to separate wherever there's two structures next to each other to really make sure that they're separated in value. And so that just takes a little practice, just looking back and forth. Okay. And also, yeah, so this part of the face is the very closest to us. So we really do want to emphasize that as much as we can to really make it look close. And last week when I was drawing with kids, we talked about that a lot because when you see a cartoon like Bruce the shark in Finding Nemo, they look realistic, but they also really look a bit more just over the top. And that's partly because they've made the eyes look more human, but also because they've really pushed the idea of atmospheric perspective. And again, we're not going to get the spots yet. That's the very last thing. I'm going to use my Uni Posca pen here to really emphasize some things. I want to emphasize that highlight on the open mouth. So just really make that sharp. And I think I'm going to make the top of the gills a little sharper and this edge pretty sharp. Right, so that comes towards us. And then making the upper part of the mouth pretty dark, even though it's pigmented white, it's going to be in the shadows because that huge mouth that can be 5 feet wide. Yeah. And then, oh yeah, I covered up the nostrils a little bit here. And then, let's see, what else? Let's see. I need to darken the tail a little bit, especially the bottom part of the tail, but keeping the outline real soft. And there's also a bit of a highlight on the top of the tail where the vertebral column, the cartilaginous vertebral column, goes up into the tail. Okay, so that's good. All right, we are almost ready for the stripes and the spots. And yeah, okay, great. So how can we add those stripes and spots? Well, you can do some erasing. Depending on how obvious you want them, you can use an eraser. You can use a white charcoal pencil. And I have a brand new sharpener. Whenever I buy a sharpener, I put the year on it. And so I like to have really nice sharp pencils, and you need to have a high quality sharpener, especially when you're working with charcoals and pastel pencils and colored pencils, because a dull sharpener will break the pencils. And then for really bright highlights, we can get out the big guns, which are Uni Posca opaque pen. Okay. So let me just get rid of this here. So what we see here, these don't show very well, but in the real photos, you see that they have more smaller spots on their head and on their fins. And then the spots get fewer as they go back. And then there's also some vertical stripes on the main part of the body going towards the tail. All righty. So we want to make the spots on the front most obvious. So I'm probably going to use this Posca pen. And I wish I had a smaller diameter one, but it died. I don't know. I'm a little afraid. I'm a little afraid. Maybe I'll see what these look like. Now, maybe I'll have a few of them. Okay, maybe I'll just do a few with the pen. But yeah, I don't want to go overboard with those dots. So I think I'll use my charcoal pencil for the other dots. And they're going to be a little bigger on this closer side because we're seeing them from straight on, right? Because this head is going away from us. But as we go back on the body, the spots get bigger and less numerous. And I don't want to go overboard with these. Then there's also spots that go up onto the tail. But just do those softly because, again, the tail is quite far from us. So they're not going to be as obvious. And then there's also sort of some stripes. How are those looking? I don't know if you guys can see those. And on the top of the body, the circles and stripes are going to be more obvious because it's more in the sun. So we can make those darker or brighter, I mean. And then let's see. Oh, yeah, there's some spots on the fins. Spots on the fins. This fin is kind of turned away from us, so it's just smaller spots. How are we doing here? Let's see. Jackie says you're not having much luck with the charcoal pencil over your drawing pencils. I have a jelly roller pen that does work. Right. So it depends. Again, charcoal and graphite don't play that well together. So it depends what you started with. I think I was using mostly charcoal the whole time, but I might have used a little bit of my graphite pencil. And yeah, so the graphite pencils don't blend well. But that's just a learning process. And you'll be better the next time. All righty. So how's this looking? Well, I just really want to push things a bit more now. Let's see. I want to just emphasize, again, the part of the body that's closest to us is right here. And so I like to emphasize these close things with just a little bit more detail, especially this fin is coming pretty close. Oops, pretty close to us. Oh, that died. Oh. So I want that. And I want to show that's in the shade, but it's still white. We want those edges to be really sharp for those things that are coming towards us without having an outline. So you want to blend that in. Right. How we doing? Okay, I think oh, let's see. What else can I do with the eye? Oh yeah, I want where's my pen? Here. I want to make the eye a little bit more obvious. Yeah, I've got some pens that are broken now. How's that look? So at a certain point, I suggest just kind of not looking at your reference anymore because every reference photo is going to show a little bit different lighting and it might not be exact like this, which I think is actually a digital drawing. It's not even a real photo. Um, but there's a certain point where you're just going to want to do what you know is true based on what you know about three-dimensional form. And I could Oh, yeah. So Jackie says, how does one keep charcoal from smearing when you close up the book? Right. If you're doing this in a sketchbook, there are a few ways. One, the easiest way is probably just to tape a piece of tracing paper on top so that you can kind of still see the drawing underneath. Uh, you can also use a certain kind of spray fixative, but that's a little scary. It's really easy to ruin it. You have to practice doing that with that same kind of paper outside because it smells and just see how it works on that paper. So now I'm just trying to do some finishing touches to really make it pop. Just to do, yeah, I just want to, might soften that mouth a little bit of the edge there. Let's see, how we doing here? Yeah. Oh boy, we've almost, oh, we made it to an hour. So what can I do to just brighten things up a little bit? I'm going to switch to my pen here. Just make a few things really pop. This fin coming towards us. And this one is pretty close. And maybe the top of the mouth. Little bit of more shadow and the gills. So I got this pen here and maybe a little bit on these gills. And what else? Maybe, well, I just don't want to go overboard. It's really easy to go overboard. So, yeah, kind of like I want to do some more here, but I want to keep that going away from us. So, yeah, this is the whale shark as we know here. So, found throughout the world's warmer oceans. They have really long distance migrations to look for mates and for big schools of fish and krill that really change during the year where they are. They are endangered because they get hit by boats and cut by propellers. And yeah, I should stop. I should stop here. I should stop. It's easy to keep going. Easy to keep going. That big old mouth. And if you had any pink, you could add a little bit of pink mouth like that. It's not as obvious, but you could add a little bit. What else? I might emphasize these ridges just a little bit more. And maybe my spots. So, how you guys doing? Are you keeping up? And I would love to see your drawings. You can always email them to me at hello@christineelder.com. But yeah, I could play with this forever, so I should stop. Probably should stop. Yeah. Um, yeah, we don't want to go too crazy with the dots, do we? Okay. All righty. Well, thanks so much for joining me, live and replay viewers. If you're interested in learning a lot more about sharks, check out my link in the chat box or my website at christineelder.com slash online, no, shark online course. And I hope you enjoyed drawing the beautiful and gentle giant, the whale shark. And tomorrow will be a surprise. So keep it posted with that. And if you want to check out the other ones that we did this week, the blue shark and the basking shark and the lemon shark, look for my play list on my YouTube channel called Sketching Sharks. So this was so fun to draw this with you today. I'll probably play with it a bit more because I just can't help myself adding details. So I hope you enjoyed this, and yeah, I hope to see you again. And please click that share button down below, okay? So that more people can enjoy these lessons and learn about sharks while you're learning to draw them. So I really appreciate you clicking that share button, sharing it with your shark loving friends or folks you know that might work at aquariums or zoos or be marine biologists or outdoor marine educators. I really appreciate that. I love having educators especially learn how to incorporate drawing into their education because it's such an active event, just like you guys have been following along, like Jackie and Diane. Once you draw something, you really understand and learn to appreciate its biology and hopefully are inspired to protect it. Like I said, these guys are listed as endangered, and a majority of the world's 500 species are also facing many threats and endangerment and even extinction. So we want to learn more about them and share what we learn with our friends and family. Okay, we'll see you next time. Ciao.